EastEnders Joel Marshall's troublesome behaviour is about to intensify next week after he and Tommy Moon land themselves in major trouble at school, and, in a chilling standalone episode, he turns violent towards Vicki Fowler. The troubled teen's unsettling mindset has been worrying those around him for months, and his next move may cross the line completely. Even before Joel arrived in Walford, he was stirring up problems for Dad Ross and his partner Vicki, an EastEnders source tells us. That's exactly why they had to move on from Australia. But brace yourselves, because Joel's sexist views are about to create utter chaos. Influenced by toxic voices online spreading hatred and anti-women rhetoric, Joel has built up deep resentment towards females that grows worse each day. He has even pulled his closest friend Tommy into his bitter crusade against girls, much to the alarm of Kat and Alfie, who desperately wish their son would distance himself from dangerous Joel. Ross feels powerless when it comes to controlling his son next week, as no amount of discipline seems to have an effect. When Joel continues to voice his offensive beliefs, Ross attempts to confront him by saying his behaviour is unacceptable, only for Joel to fire back with verbal abuse. Storming away, Joel leaves Ross and Vicki completely lost on what to do next. Then, on Thursday, October 9th, the plot takes centre stage in a one-episode focus when a shocking incident erupts at Walford-wide, with Joel and Tommy at the centre of it. Word spreads quickly across the square about what has happened, leaving parents and students stunned. As families try to face the fallout of Joel and Tommy's actions, they are forced into raw conversations about the rise of misogyny among young boys, the influence of extremist online figures, and how it shapes their behaviour. With tensions mounting, the drama reaches breaking point. Joel is a ticking time bomb of fury as his parents attempt to set boundaries, our insider adds. Sick of being controlled, he snaps and strikes a horrified Vicki. Could this be the moment Joel crosses the ultimate line? Immediately after this gripping installment, BBC Three will screen a documentary titled EastEnders Investigates, the Manosphere, shining a light on the real-world issues behind Joel's dramatic storyline. EastEnders reveals major Ben Mitchell change in dramatic funeral story. Callum's betrayal is exposed. EastEnders Callum Highway is left reeling next week when he unexpectedly comes face-to-face with his imprisoned husband Ben Mitchell at his father's funeral. Just as Callum prepares to move forward with new love interest Johnny Carter, could Ben's shock return ruin everything? After Jono's sudden death from a heart attack following his attempt to reconnect with his son, the day of his funeral finally arrives. Struggling with his grief, Callum finds Kathy rallying the Mitchells to give him their full backing, reminding everyone that he is still Ben's husband. Privately, Callum continues his forbidden romance with Johnny. He warns his new partner to steer clear of the funeral, but when the pair sneak a kiss, they're caught by an outraged Kathy. Wasting no time, Kathy rushes straight to the cafe to spill the truth to the Mitchell family. When Callum faces a furious backlash from the clan, he has some defiant words of his own. The Mitchells strike a deal. They'll keep quiet about Callum's secret fling, on the condition he admits everything to Ben and Lexi once Jono has been laid to rest. Realizing how serious things are, Callum decides to prove his commitment to Johnny and invites him along to the service. Elsewhere, Stuart makes a brief comeback to the square to pay his respects to his late father and share a heartfelt reunion with his brother. On the day of the funeral, Callum and his family gather at the church, only for a shocking surprise when Ben arrives unannounced. Unaware of his husband's hidden romance, Ben consoles a stunned Callum graveside and even kisses him, while Johnny and Stuart scramble to hide the heartbreaking truth. Later, Phil and Kathy welcome Ben home to Walford. He reveals he has returned permanently after being moved to a UK prison and granted temporary release, having turned informant against his cellmate in America. Johnny pleads with Callum to keep their relationship a secret, but Callum insists Ben must hear the truth from him, and soon. Will Callum confess his love for Johnny to Ben? And could this devastating revelation finally end their marriage once and for all? EastEnders Suki and Eve take life-changing step in their marriage and trigger backlash. Tensions have been running high for the Panesar Unwins in EastEnders recently, after a huge bust-up ripped the family apart. The drama began when Suki Panesar Unwin discovered that Avani Nandra Hart was pregnant following a one-night stand with troubled teen Joel Marshall, who is notorious for his misogynistic behaviour. Avani had originally hoped to keep the pregnancy a secret. Shaken by the thought of having a child with Joel, Avani started researching abortion options online. Despite Suki's pleas, insisting this might be Avani's only chance to become a mother, Avani stood firm in her decision and prepared to confide in her parents, Priya Nandra Hart and Ravi Gulati. At the clinic, however, Suki persuaded Avani to carry on with the pregnancy so that she and her wife, Eve Panesar Unwin, could raise the baby themselves, without telling Eve first. When Eve eventually learned what Suki had done, she was furious, and the couple clashed. But over time, Eve slowly warmed to the idea of having a child. As Avani's morning sickness worsened, and her mental health began to suffer, she had a heartfelt conversation with Eve, making it clear she desperately wanted an abortion. Eve promised to support her, and backed her decision. When the rest of the family found out, outrage followed. And while Eve stood by Avani during the termination, the fallout was catastrophic. The Panesars turned against Suki, and when she tried to deflect blame onto Eve, the rift between them deepened, leaving their marriage on the rocks. Things later shifted when Jono Highway launched a vile, homophobic attack on Eve, with Suki stepping up to support her wife, thawing some of the frost between them. Next week, Priya, Ravi and the children move back into number 41 after selling their home, while Suki tries to mend fences with her family. Speaking with Avani, she is urged to reach out to Eve. Taking the advice, Suki arranges a drink with Eve at the Albert. The meeting begins awkwardly, but the pair eventually find common ground. It's then that Eve stuns Suki by revealing she wants them to adopt a child together. To Priya's surprise, Suki seems open to the idea, as she later finds her looking into adoption information. But when word spreads through the family that Suki is considering adoption with Eve, the reaction is far from supportive. Instead of rallying behind her, they turn on her with harsh criticism. Priya is the first to lash out, accusing Suki of trying to replace Avani's pregnancy with another child, and questioning whether she has the right mindset to raise a baby. Ravi soon weighs in, branding her a failure as a mother who is too wrapped up in control and appearances to provide a stable home. The relentless judgment cuts deep, with Suki's every past mistake thrown back in her face. She is told she should focus on repairing the bonds she has already broken with her children, rather than chasing the dream of starting afresh with Eve. The cruel words leave Suki visibly shaken, and for once, she finds herself struggling to maintain her usual steely facade. Overwhelmed and wounded, Suki slips away to find Eve, desperate for clarity. But the question lingers. Has her family's brutal rejection crushed her hope of adopting, or will Suki stand firm beside Eve and fight for their chance to become parents together? EastEnders airs Monday to Thursday at 7:30 p.m. on BBC One, with episodes available earlier from 6 a.m. on BBC iPlayer.